You're live. Okay.
We are? Oh, okay.
We're live. Hello.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome to Code187 live version. Live version?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we'll come up with a better name.
Yeah.
So
Here we are.
Yeah, we're going to be making it up as we go. We're hoping you all will join and have stuff you want to talk about. But for now, we're going to kind of make it up as we go.
Yep. This is really, really bright.
Yeah. I'm
Should we turn the
that.
lights down?
I don't know if I can get out.
Okay, let's try.
I might be stuck. Also, she's the one. She's the one who can see better too. So, if any of you guys are asking questions, I don't think that one's really not the problem. It's the one over here, the big key light one.
Well, I thought that would help.
No, that's okay.
Oh. Did I just turn it off?
No, you're good.
Okay.
You might have just unplugged the power, but that's about it.
Oh.
To the laptop charger.
Okay.
It's okay. That's looking better, I think. Yeah. Okay. Hey, sorry. We have not done. She's done lives, but then I made her try a new setup, so that's on me.
All right. Okay. Now to get back.
She'll be back in shot here soon.
The whole thing quakes. All right.
Well,
that's way better.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Yeah, that was super bright. Okay, so how was your week? Your month, your
I mean, it's been all right. It's been I've had a little time off of work, a little bit of time to relax, a little time to sleep, and yeah. I just started a true crime podcast, I guess. Join a true crime podcast, I should say.
What's that?
Yours?
Oh. Okay, fair.
Code187.
I had a not so good week. I think Mercury's in serial grade or whatever they call it. Retrograde or
I don't know what any of that is, but I've been hearing that a lot.
I think people are just all having a bad day. Bad week, bad year.
Just making it. That's what I'm doing.
Just slowly make it. We're here. That's one thing. All right. No one's joined yet.
Which is, all the technical difficulties to start. That's not a bad thing.
I don't know what I just did. Yeah.
Okay. So, let's think about this. What is there true crime to start discussing?
Everybody's watching Dahmer.
Right. And unfortunately, we have not gotten past the first episode. We watched the first episode.
But the first episode, I would say, is run. Just get far out of there.
Oh.
Just don't.
For some reason, I thought you had some slang term I didn't know.
If someone offers you a drink with foam or soap in it,
it's just soap. Don't worry about it.
Get the F out of there.
Well, and also, somebody offers, what was it, like $50 or something? 90s $50 was a little bit more, but not a lot more. $50 to come back and do a photo shoot. It's not. Don't go to their house, at least.
Yeah. Have you seen the meme of him dancing?
Not yet, no.
It's pretty funny.
I definitely know the meme's been crazy since it started.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where it goes. Evan Peters is really good in it, I think.
I did say to you, I thought it was kind of weird the way that it started, because it kind of started in the middle of his story. I don't dislike how it started, but it's not like people don't know what happened to Dahmer.
Right.
It's not like this is some big mystery that nobody's ever heard of, so I guess it makes sense, but it just kind of feels weird to started out the part that I usually would have wanted to watch to see what happened, which is the how was he caught, and so that was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of working a little bit backwards.
I think it's going to probably jump around in the timeline, but those of you who have already watched the whole thing, you probably already know.
I don't know what they're going to do for 10 episodes. I mean, I know he hasn't technically even killed anybody yet that we've seen. I mean, I guess we saw people in the refrigerator. Yeah. So, yeah, he killed people, yeah.
Right.
We
know that he did. It didn't show how, necessarily.
Yeah. The actors in it are really, really good.
Right. And you mentioned they came from American Horror Story, or at least one of the writers, and then his last name is Peters. I can't remember. Evan Peters?
Evan Peters.
Yeah, which everybody's freaking out about him, which he was always a good actor in the American Horror Story.
He freaks me out. He's a scary dude.
I personally think, I think 2 of the seasons he freaks you out more than other seasons. So that's another thing too. Like he played the main part in so many different seasons. It's almost like pick what season you were freaked out by Evan Peters in. And,
and I guess he played Manson in something too. Did he play Manson in American Horror Story?
Maybe, probably.
I don't know. But they said he played Manson.
I'm trying to remember all this. If he did, that wasn't the season I remember the most. But he probably did. Yeah. At first, when I thought Manson, I was like, was he in the hotel? But then I'm like, because they had all the famous serial killers in that. But no, he was the rich guy in the hotel. Like, I don't know who he was supposed to be.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You actually kind of like some of that because you were like Eileen Mornos. They played her perfect.
They did. They played her really good, which sometime I'll do her story. I go back and forth on it because, like, I do think she was a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I think she sought people out too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of.
Yeah, it's.
Kind of both.
I almost talked about this in one of our other episodes, the whole nature versus nurture when it comes to serial killers. Like, was Eileen Mornos born to where she could be a serial killer, or was it like, obviously this is a nurture thing necessarily, but like her environment, I guess would be a better way of putting it. Did her environment make her a serial killer, or was she born with a predisposition to do something like that?
I mean, she was pretty crazy. And I think we're far enough removed from that to say that she was crazy. She was a crazy girl.
Right.
And the thing she did was not good.
Which I don't know a ton about that, so I can't get too far into that part. But I mean,
serial killers is an interesting discussion because there's just so much of a wide range. Like we talked about Charles Manson, he didn't technically kill anybody, but yet he's one of the most notorious serial killers.
Just for, basically starting a cult.
Yeah, and when you think of cult leaders, he's definitely like up there as number one.
What's interesting to me with the whole, we were talking about the environment causing serial killers. You and I have talked about that before, but I always felt like environment does cause it a lot, like things that have happened to the serial killers, because it seems like a lot of times you'll say like, oh, they had a rough childhood. But one thing you did mention happens a lot with serial killers is head trauma at a young age.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know.
Yeah, I did a video on that actually. So go back and watch that video.
I guess I hadn't seen that one. Don't remember that one.
That's okay. It was really early on.
Yeah. I do remember you talking about that. That's probably where I remember you talking about it from, is us talking about that video.
Yeah. Which a lot of serial killers, a lot of criminals have extensive head trauma. Like you hear like, oh, a serial killer was like knocked in the head by a swing or was abused and hit in the head or something like that.
And now I'm terrified that if a kid gets hit in the head, there could be a serial killer. So I'm just like, I mean, I already was really protective that a kid doesn't get hit in the head. And now I'm just like no. As soon as that happens, I'm like, all right, follow that kid for the rest of their life. Make sure they're good. They don't do anything.
You're on the playground. You're like, we got another one.
So close.
Yep.
They made it to whatever age and then turned into a serial killer. All right. So, what else do we go into here? We've gone into, kind of talked about, we have a video coming up that we did some kind of back and forth interview stuff, and we talked about cases that we both knew from the area.
Yeah.
So we're talking about cases that we know pretty well. We talked about the Carr Brothers, which is one I know pretty well, and what was the last that we've heard on that? You said they were kind of turned on each other, weren't they?
Yeah, and they were both convicted. They're both sitting on, I don't know if they got death or not, but they did get a lot of years in prison.
I know Kansas was weird, right? Because then they abolished the death penalty for a little bit, but then bring it back, and then
they've had back and forth on it.
Right, and then if your crime, so BTK, his crimes were committed in a time when there wasn't the death penalty, so he can't get the death penalty, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah, so it says the Kansas Supreme Court affirmed the death sentences of brothers Reginald and Jonathan Carr for 4 murders committed in December 2000 in Wichita. So they are sitting on death row. Will they be executed? Probably not anytime soon.
Yeah, because there's always.
I don't think they've executed. Here, who was the last person executed in Kansas comes up. So let's look at that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
The last state execution in Kansas by hanging.
Wow.
Occurred in 1965.
Wow.
Gary Kelpups, Crawford County, for the March 30th, What? This is 1986. That's not possible.
He's from the future.
He's from the future. Oh, I bet that's just talking about a different case. But by hanging in 1965. So, yeah, we're not going to get anybody anytime soon.
Yeah, probably not.
I think they just kind of...
Kansas is kind of a conservative state. I shouldn't say kind of. It is a conservative state. So, usually conservative states are more pro-death penalty.
Yeah, I think they just kind of wait for them to die at this point.
Which, I mean, everybody's like, oh, a lot of people, I know it's split on the death penalty. Some people are for it, some people are against it. For me, I almost kind of think it's, how do I describe it? I almost think it's more suffering to just live in prison the rest of your life when you're at that level of a criminal, where you're basically solitary confinement forever. You don't get to see people, just sit in a room with your thoughts, and you just think about all the terrible things you did. I don't know. Maybe it's not. I haven't been in that situation. Might be nice to get some peace and quiet. I don't really know.
I can tell that we have a kid around.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wait. I don't have to hear, like, hey, look at this. Hey, you. Come play with me. Hey.
We wouldn't trade it, though.
Nope. Not for anything.
So there's the Carr Brothers. Nothing new, obviously, in the BTK thing, except for,
He's just a giant douche.
Like what Morbid says all the time.
Yep.
F and Dennis.
What else?
So Kansas-wise, trying to think. We saw some stuff on this. You probably read more into it than me, but there was a kind of a hoax when it came to a serial killer.
Yeah, I didn't get to read all of that.
I read a little bit into the thread, and it seemed like the gist of the hoax was that someone said that there were people being murdered that were persons of color and women, and they were not being reported on because they were persons of color and women, and that there had been 4 in a certain short period of time.
Which that happens. So.
It does happen. I mean, the story sounded like almost everybody I saw on the thread immediately was like, oh, how, this is definitely something that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody believed it right away.
Right.
And then news stations started confirming that it wasn't actually true. But I even saw a reporter in the thread that I was looking at where the reporter was like, hey, I just want to make sure I'm doing my own research to see if this is true or not. Let me know if you're seeing this from anywhere other than this one source.
One person died though, right? There was one.
I'm not sure.
One killing and then it blew up is what I heard.
There could have been, yeah. And so maybe the initial person was making a connection that people were saying wasn't there. I don't know. See, I didn't get to see where that went after that. I just saw the night it blew up. But yeah, that's something definitely to look into, is that there were some hoaxes out there going on in the Kansas City area. Supposedly hoaxes, hopefully a hoax, because that means that there wasn't 4 people killed like that.
Right. And I did the video on the cop that was arrested in Kansas City, Kansas, for rape of many, many young Black women and girls. So
I do remember you talking about that.
If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch that, because it's a pretty short video. I think it's like 5 minutes. So, but it's a really important story.
And I think you brought this up on many cases. You would like to cover more things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, for where you're at, it's and where we're at, we have to go off of what gets reported by media outlets. And so if the media doesn't report on it, we don't really have a lot of information to go on.
Right.
And that's been a huge issue, is the media doesn't report about it. And the only other things you have are kind of hearsay from like forums and Reddit and things like that you're like, well, how do I trust user 261214? That random username. How do you trust that they have any knowledge of the situation?
Right. And people make up rumors, like you said, that there's hoax and stuff. That happens too. So
yeah, so then you just kind of have to be careful not to perpetuate the rumor and not to make something false spread, because then it becomes, oh, well, Code187 reported this.
Right.
Well, we mentioned it was said on a forum by a random user. So
yeah.
It's tricky. You want to be able to cover the cases that are less reported, but you got to have something to go on to get that information out there.
Right.
And just working with you for a few weeks on this, I've definitely been frustrated on the lack of information on victims when that comes out.
Yeah, I just kind of expect it.
Right.
And then when I do find something, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
There's something on this.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like there needs to be somewhere there needs to be a forum for families to get out information about victims' lives, like good things about them, so that true crime could actually use some good details to shine some details on the victims.
Right. Now we have social media and stuff like that, which is awesome, but like for a 1974 case,
right,
you're not going to find anything unless they said something in an article back then,
right?
Which, if it's someone who's underreported, we don't get that. So like now we have 1,000,004 things to say about Gabby Petito and people who have went missing or have been murdered in the last little while because of social media, but we don't have that for archives, basically.
Right.
So yeah.
Awkward pause.
We're gonna have those. It's live. It's live magic.
One of our favorite YouTubers is Brandon Ferris. If you guys haven't seen him, you should go check it out. But he occasionally will do some hour-long rambles, and I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I feel like I need to be doing an hour-long ramble here till we have some fans join. And we're at like what, 10 minutes?
19.
No, 19. Well, hey, that's moving faster than I thought it was.
I do love talking to you guys. When it's like this, it's so tough. And that's why I don't do lives as much, is because I can get on here and talk, but if there's nobody here, I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know what to say.
Really, the hopes on the live are that one of you will get on and say, hey, I heard about this case. We should talk about it.
Right. Which,
Or
if you are not on my social media, Code187 across socials, I will post it below after this, but some of them have like a YT after it. But go add me on socials, because like yesterday I announced we were going to be on live today,
Right.
and you guys might have missed that because you don't have me on socials. So go over there. I post on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then I do TikTok, but I don't do really announcements there. But I have a TikTok. We have a Patreon. Patreon.com/code187 that you can go and get extra content. I'm going to start like really putting a lot more on Patreon. So go check that out. What else do we got?
Did you mention Spotify?
Spotify. We've got
Right.
the podcast going up on Spotify.
Mhm. Almost to 30 episodes now, I think.
Yeah. And go on there and follow, give a rating, because that will help us out. It helps push our content out to true crime viewers or listeners, I guess, listeners.
Right.
So do that.
You can view a podcast. It's kind of boring to watch the little
right. Just watch
progress
the
bar. I've done it before. It's not great. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. Definitely subscribe on YouTube if you are here and you're watching and you like our content, because it'll notify you if you hit the bell thing. They still do the bell, I'm pretty sure.
So, yeah. They always do the whole ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Hit that bell. That's what they say. Smash that like button. Yep. But do all that stuff to get notified when we are on lives or when I post a video or anything like that. So there's my plug.
Yeah. It'd be interesting too if anybody has any ideas on just anything. Like, so one of the things I had a thought about that I thought would be fun to do with her sometime. I play games. I play video games and stuff. I would kind of love to see her play a like scary video game, and I would freak out at it, but I would love to watch her play it. And
I don't know.
So it'd be interesting to see a Twitch stream where she is playing something terrifying and see how she does with it.
It'd be fun, but I don't know how to play games, so I'm just going to be running around doing terrible.
what you think is going to happen is she's going to like scream and all this stuff. No, she's going to be asking how to play it, and I'm going to be screaming because I don't do good with scary games.
That would be super fun.
They put it in the dark room. People jump out at you. All those jump scares get me every time. I will physically jump. So that would be interesting. Just content ideas in general would be. That's our ballpark, but it's also fun to see what you guys like and what you don't like. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't like these lives. I don't know. We won't know until people are like, yeah, lives are just not my thing. Or
right.
I also know that sometimes timing matters, and it's really hard to figure out the right live time because it's Saturday night. Everybody might be getting ready to go out and party. Everybody might be getting ready to go have a good night. It's also later Saturday night. Maybe everybody's ready to go to bed. I don't know.
Maybe people are getting ready to go to church tomorrow.
True, yeah.
And I'm like, no, I just want to curl up and watch Dahmer.
Maybe everybody's like, don't ruin my weekend with sad true crime stuff.
That's very true.
Or maybe people like joining lives while they're at work, which I hope your bosses are cool with that.
Yep, don't get fired.
Yep.
So one thing I want to do, speaking of branching out and doing other things, is I have a case and I want to make a documentary style type of thing. I have not pulled the trigger on it because I think I'm a little hesitant and I'm a little scared. So would you guys want to see that? Drew, what is your opinions on it? Do we have time? Do I have time in my crazy life right now to even attempt that.
So one thing I would say with that is I feel like it's something that creatively interests you. So it's something that then maybe you should make time for still, either way.
I don't want to like slack on content for you
I know,
guys.
that's what I was going to say. I'm sorry if that hurts you guys getting to see content quite as much, but it would be, I don't know. I think it's good for your creativity to get to do something that you really want and think could be cool. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to not drop any content for them. It just might mean a little less a week. But hey, what do I know? Maybe people don't like that. Maybe people are like, no, just give me the content.
Do your thing. Eat a spider.
Oh yeah. The thought of the documentary is cool because you can get actual footage of these places. You can actually go on location. You can, I mean, even potentially interview people if people are willing to be interviewed. There's a lot more that you can do with it that's more of an official capacity than what we do here, because I bring it back to what I said earlier about having mostly only news reports to go on. This at least gives you location. You can go shoot video of the locations and you can look around where things happen and things like that.
It's a local case. It's a case that's been suggested, and I'm like, I feel really bad that I haven't covered it yet. The reason I haven't covered it yet is because I'm waiting to do something big on it, and for some reason something's telling me to wait. And then I was thinking about it today, and I'm like, I think I'm ready to do it. I just have to have the time to do it.
Yeah.
Which is not easy for me right now.
Right.
I've got a lot of stuff going on, but if I start kind of slacking on those Saturday videos, that is why. That and Patreon, I'm trying to do those things, plus get you guys your regular content. And I have a full-time, well, not a full-time job, but I have a job and I have a child. And so doing everything is like a juggling act. And I don't get paid for YouTube, even though I'd love to.
Not yet.
YouTube, come on. Come on.
Here, let me
show me the money.
Let me turn this Dr. Pepper label towards the camera.
Get anything we can for product placement or
Dr. Pepper is not sponsoring this video, but you could.
But you could. But it's been something I've been wanting to do. I want to do more creative filmmaking because this is fun.
Yeah.
But it's not really filmmaking, to be honest.
Right. She's always kind of had a good eye for things in movies and documentaries too, the way they're shot and things like that. She's had kind of a creative, I like the way they did this in filmmaking. And whereas me, I'm very much the opposite. And for those who don't know, which probably everybody on here, I doubt I've said it, but I'm legally blind. So for me, watching that type of stuff, filmmaking movies and stuff like that, I don't catch as much of the stuff as she does. So
that's why he does all the audio.
Yeah,
and I do the visual.
Right. Exactly. That's why when you see some of the podcasts we do later, or I guess not the podcast, but the video versions of the podcast, and you see us talking to each other, and she'll be talking, and I'll be sitting here going, It's not because I'm falling asleep or anything.
I don't want to see you anymore.
No, it's mostly just because I am listening, and sometimes it's like, what's the use? My eyes aren't going to see what I'm looking at. I want to hear it, and so it's like I shut off one sense and try to turn up the other sense. I don't know if it really works that way, but
if it works that way, I should just be able to close my eyes and hear better.
I mean, you would think, but I don't know. That's just how I got through school as a kid, so I still do it to people sometimes. Don't even notice it.
So yeah.
Will you at least say on the case if it is currently unsolved, or is it an ongoing investigation case where you're going to have to worry about stepping on toes, or?
Oh yeah. So it is unsolved but solved. We know the family, the people who research it, the people who have even heard the case know who did it, but no one has been arrested or charged.
Okay.
And it's frustrating.
Right.
Super frustrating, because we don't really know why. So that's kind of the thing behind the documentary, is why haven't these people gone down? And I mean, if there could be someone else, who could it be? But I think we pretty much know.
Right.
But it's a local case. It's an older case, but it's a very important case. I don't know. I don't want to give away too much. That's why I don't want to do a full episode on it, is because like I give away the whole thing and then I don't get to explore it more. But I know there's a PI involved, and so maybe getting some information from him would be great.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought a lot about it, and
yeah, and that's part of why I ask, is because I was like, well, if it's ongoing, there's just different challenges, I feel like, than if it's a cold case or a closed case or whatever.
These people are still walking around,
right? Yeah.
With no.
Well, I thought you're worried about your safety for a second. Maybe that was just me worrying about your safety.
I'm not worried about my safety, because there's been a lot of people talk out about this.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, one of those things is a lot of times the police don't do a lot until it gets a bunch of attention.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I would give it a bunch of attention, but I would give it a little bit more than what it has.
Well, and if it's the case I'm thinking of, which I don't know if it is, we'll just have to talk after this and find out if I was on the right track or not. If it's the case I was thinking of, I also wonder if they have enough that they feel like is admissible in court. Because there's some evidence that, if I'm thinking of the right one, there's some evidence that makes you really like, okay, this person, we're sure this is who did it. But then was it obtained in a way that they can use it in court? And that could be interesting, because I don't know, I know when they take these things to trial, they want to make sure they have everything to make sure it's like,
so that they do get them.
Yeah.
Especially with multiple people being going on trial or being involved, I guess is what I should say.
Yeah, they want it to be a sure thing. And so if it's the case I'm thinking of, I'm wondering if there's some of that in there too. Which,
if we are not thinking of the same case, I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, what are you thinking of? Maybe I need to cover two.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be way off too. I mean, I sometimes with these cases tend to, I don't want to say they blur together, but it's I'll start remembering like things that happened more than I'll remember like anything else, and then it'll start to fall back into place almost. So with there's a case that, okay, I remember the name for once, but I never remember the name. Okay. One of the cases that always interested me was the Rebecca Zahow one.
Yes.
And we've talked about that one multiple times, and there are a lot of times where I will start talking to you about that case, and I'll be like, the case where there was the boat knots. And you'll be like, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Nobody else probably knows what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, I was like, that case made me mad, because I've gone on this rant to her several times before, but I'm like, she was tied up in boat knots, and somebody who had motive was in the house that tied boat knots.
Yeah,
like,
he was like a a boater of some sort.
Yeah,
we're inland right now.
Yeah, we're in the,
just to let you know,
we're in the middle of the U.S. There's not really a lot of
those boaters over there.
Yachter,
sea captain,
pirate.
One of those
I'm not
seamen,
sure. He's a pirate. He's the guy off the Captain Morgan bottle.
Right. We know.
Right. So, but I'm just saying, like, somebody who's trained to tie knots like that, and then she died tied up in knots like that. I mean, it's at the very least got to make you look at that person.
But there's some really good evidence that it was suicide.
I know, but it's just, how do you
I might be more team suicide than I am team boat guy.
How do you tie yourself up though like that and then
there is a lot of people
yourself?
Who will tie themselves up. I'm just saying.
I know,
it's
but I mean,
not impossible.
in fancy boat knots, like,
I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, you
maybe for a nautical theme.
Why? But sure, you do you. Whatever your thing is. Yeah, I don't know. That one to me, I'm always just like, it just feels, something doesn't feel right about it.
That documentary where they go to someone who actually like ties people up for grown-up purposes. Say that, grown-up purposes.
I don't know what.
Whatever it is.
You can't say that. I don't feel like it should be that bad to say, but I don't know.
Beating around the bush here, but oh god. But for grown-up purposes, they go to. Yeah, I'm gonna head out. Like but they go to like someone, and he's like, yeah, like they could have tied themselves up like this, and I'm just like, what are we watching? Are we watching a true crime documentary? What is happening?
Maybe I'm just not that coordinated too. I'm sitting here.
I'm not that flexible.
I'm sitting here going, I could not tie my hands together in front of me. I could not put my hands right here and tie my hands together.
Oh boy, we got way off track on this live.
Well, we did, but I mean, I'm just saying, like the Rebecca Zahau one. I usually start out with the what was the details that all I remember is the boat knots, and then all of a sudden the rest of it starts to come back to me.
Right. What's another case you could do that with?
So I always, if you and I hadn't talked about it so much, I always used to do it with, and now I'm forgetting his name, one of the ones that you always wanted to know what happened with. So where I always start with this one in my head, I start with the guy that went past the highway camera multiple times in both directions, and nobody knows why he did it, and then he went missing, and that was the last he was ever seen. You always wanted to know what happened in that case. Everybody, I think, who's heard that case wants to know what happened.
Bryce Lapisa.
Bryce Lapisa. And it takes me a while to get to his name. I get through the scenario before I get to his name usually.
Yeah. So you're getting like a little bit of a behind the curtain on what we do in our just a regular day. I'm like, hey, they found da-da-da-da-da-da. And Drew's like, is that the one with the thing and the thing? I'm like, yeah.
She's just, yes or no. Sometimes I'm way off. And
right.
She'll be like, who are you thinking of?
So I was like, they made a series about the staircase, and we were both like, yeah, the one about the owl.
Yeah, right. That was my takeaway from the staircase, was the owl feathers and the potential scratches, and like that was one of the defenses, I think.
Yep, that it was an owl.
The defense's defense, that an owl attacked her at the top of the stairs. The second wife. I don't know if there's an owl problem in that area, but
I thought you were going to say an owl problem with the first wife.
Maybe. We don't know.
These poor women are being attacked by owls all over.
Yeah, they just have like owls in the house. Yes,
he
constantly.
Just has an owl problem.
Yeah, I that to me was like one of those things that I heard, and I was just like, really? An owl? Like, that's the defense? I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying probabilities feel pretty low.
Right.
I mean, I've lived out in the country before, and there have been owls out around my house before. None of them have ever tried to fly into my house.
Or knock me off the stairs.
Yeah, none of them have ever really wanted to go around people at all. But I'm not saying it couldn't happen. It's overly aggressive owl. I don't know.
Woohoo! What other ones?
Let's see. I was just thinking of one of the few ones I always actually remember was Mara Murray.
Mara Murray.
I think that's what everybody that does true crime. That's one of the big cases that everybody's kind of,
That was where we were introduced to Maggie Freeling.
Yeah, she likes watching Maggie Freeling stuff.
I like Maggie Freeling.
The thing with Maura Murray is I think we both hope she's somewhere in Canada living her best life.
Yep, she's just eating fries and gravy and just
right.
doing her thing.
Just happy. Hopefully. I mean,
Hopefully.
that's what you hope for all the missing people. That's what you hope for Bryce Lepisa too.
Right.
Like, you hope that, you want to find him to make sure he's okay. But and I remember with Bryce Lepisa, that wasn't there like at one point they brought in a homeless guy that they said looked almost exactly like Bryce Lepisa, and they confirmed that he wasn't. But everybody for a little bit was like, he did survive. Like, he is okay. You know?
Yeah, he's just.
Everybody was like, okay, well, I mean, in that situation, it was kind of like, well, I don't know if that was a happy ending or not, because you don't know what he had been through in those years. But at the same point in time, with those unsolved cases, the disappearances, at least, that nobody's ever found, you almost kind of just hope, like, that they disappeared, but they're okay somewhere, and they just don't want to be found.
Right.
Even though that's like the smallest % chance.
Mm-hmm.
Another case, we were talking about cases that I remember parts of the story, but don't remember the whole thing. I'm immediately going to that place right now, trying to figure out what it is. So I'm going to describe it to you and see if you can remember who it is.
Okay.
It was on an island, like, look at your face. It was one of the ones that was on an island.
Moana.
No. Yeah, I hope not. I think she was.
The sea is calling to me.
She
like
was
Moana.
doing fine the last time we saw her in that movie.
Yeah, she was.
What'd you do, Rock? No. Oh man, I'm trying to remember what else happened. So, it was one of the cases where someone was roofied, and probably overly roofied, and allegedly the parent tried to help the son hide the body. And
yes, not Kristen Smart.
I'm gonna have to say allegedly a lot with that case, because I do think they're pretty litigious.
Allegedly.
I do think they're pretty litigious, and we have no evidence. So allegedly everything.
I'm gonna look it up, but
yeah, I'm trying to remember where it was.
I can see her in my mind.
At first I thought it was the Virgin Islands, but I don't think that's right. I'm trying to remember what the islands were that this happened on, because that was part of it, was that it wasn't an official, like, it wasn't official, like, US, like, it wasn't part of another state. There was some weirdness there with the laws around that.
Okay, so I looked up famous missing people, and Ozzy Osbourne came up. Is he missing? Someone go check on Ozzy Osbourne, please.
Go check on Ozzy.
Is he okay?
I mean, I'm sure he's missing, like, certain.
I don't even know how to, like.
I don't. This is where we need the people in the chat here.
I know.
To be able to help us out. You also, if I remember right, said that, or maybe you didn't. Maybe the documentary said that this person was the father or something like that. I don't know. Somebody in the case married somebody else from another big case, I thought.
Yeah.
And so that was another thing about. See, this is what I'm talking about.
I can see her in my head.
The pieces come back to me slowly, and I have to work out from that because of all the cases that we've seen and stuff. And say it's really her. I should be remembering this stuff more than her, because I only have a few that I remember watching a ton about.
Natalie Holloway.
Natalie Holloway, and that's not a common name, but that's like a memorable name. Like as soon as you said it, I'm like, Natalie Holloway. I've heard that name a million times.
So this is super, 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 super sad. But I was like typing in like murdered on an island, and to get to Natalie Holloway, it's white blonde girl murdered on an island. And it came up with Natalie Holloway.
That's what Google.
That's what Google suggested.
Okay. But that case was messed up. There were so many. I can't remember I don't know if ID did that documentary.
But that
we
guy
watched.
did it. No way he didn't do it.
Allegedly.
Oh, allegedly he did it. Allegedly. If you Hey Babe.
Oh.
That's from Hey Babe. They go allegedly.
Well, that's I do like quoting Sal Volcano stuff because I like being like, Dr. Pepper, if you're watching, and I know you are.
And I know you are.
From Sal Volcano.
Take it up with podcast. Bloom Cafe. So we love true crime, but on our off time we watch comedy.
You gotta have a palate cleanser.
You do, and for us it's Brandon Ferris. And
I like Taste Buds. She likes Taste Buds and Hey Babe.
I will watch anything with Sal Volcano.
I don't dislike Hey Babe. I just think for me Taste Buds is a more interesting format, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess I like food. I don't know. I like hearing people get in fights about food, and it reminds me of my best friend and I arguing over stuff. I mean, that's how we do our playing devil's advocate kind of thing. And so that to me, it just kind of, that flow fits what I'm used to. And I actually don't tell him I said this, but I think Joe DeRosa is kind of funny.
He is funny.
A lot of people don't like to give him credit for that, but he's a little funny, just a little bit.
He is a little funny, but he gets so mad.
He does, but then they bring on Nate Bargatze for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Need to bring Nate Bargatze back.
We're just rambling.
But I mean, hey, you get to know us a little better.
You do, and you get to go seek out some cool shows to watch and podcasts to listen to.
Another for me, it's Philip DeFranco was one I watch.
I watched a little bit, but not much.
She watches Bailey Sarian.
Who doesn't watch Bailey?
I've even watched Bailey with her some. There's, other ones for me. I'm trying to remember the other one I watch.
Well, as far as podcasts for me, because I listen to podcasts at work.
Hers is going to be more true crime, actually.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of podcasts at work. I listen to Morbid every week, Crime Junkie every week, and then True Crime Obsessed. I've been on a kick of them. There's also, let me look up their name because they have been really, really funny and some good information. They're more on the spooky side of things rather than true crime. But if you like spooky stuff, Believing the Bizarre is what they're called. And they do different conspiracy theories, aliens and Sasquatch and stuff like that. But go check them out. I also listen to the Mindset Mentor. He's really good. So
out of those, I've listened to a lot of Crime Junkie with her. I've listened to a lot of Morbid. Morbid's kind of become my favorite of the ones to listen to because, I mean, even I feel like they have more of my taste in music and stuff. Like they covered the whole Kurt
Cobain.
I almost just combined the names. I just combined Courtney and Kurt.
Oh no.
Kurt Cobain. And then they also have had Ghost, I think, come on or will be coming on.
They just had the lead singer. His name's Tobias.
I don't know. I know I've heard a few of Ghost songs and they're pretty good. It's kind of more the genre I listen to.
And I don't, but
yeah, she doesn't. But for me,
I love Morbid.
Right, and so that's the interest for me is they feel like people that I would just be able to sit in a room with and just BS with, and it'd be fun to just hang out and talk. I think she feels the same way too, but she would get really into the true crime stuff, and I would be like, so "What's your theories on Kurt Cobain?" Like I would be more on that kind of side of things. We've talked about me doing an episode at some point. I kind of have cold feet on it, so we'll see. I just haven't.
He's not good at turning it off as much as I am. I have to research a case, turn it off to go to the next one. I think he will be stuck on it for so long.
Yeah, I likely will read about it, watch documentaries, write notes, make a big thing, all to then have to just cut it down to the time anyways.
I mean, we could do what we want. We can have
Right.
a
What-
whole season if you need to.
Well, and that's the thing is I don't think there's that much information, actual. So I will watch a whole documentary for like 5 minutes of when it comes to that stuff. So like musicians and stuff really interest me. I've talked about Bon Scott to her. Bon Scott was the lead singer of AC/DC. For the most part, a lot of people believe it was an open and shut case. He died from a night of drinking, according to all the records and everything. There are some people out there that believe maybe there was foul play involved. And so I would be interested in doing the conspiracy theories on that case, but as someone who's a fan of the genre, I would literally watch documentaries for 5 minutes of new information that I hadn't heard before. Because I'm so interested in that stuff that I would want to hear just like these little tidbits. I'm like, I didn't know that. Even though I've watched the same stuff 20 times. There's some stuff out there about Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell. That'd
be a good episode.
That is super sad. That one hits pretty close to home for me, especially having liked those artists, but then also like, you get to where you're kind of relate to music of somebody and some of their lyrics, and then that happens. It's kind of like, ouch, but there are some conspiracies around those where they may have, according to the conspiracies, discovered some things that they shouldn't have known about regarding children and certain circles of people, and that they may just be all conspiracies, all rumors, nothing of any actual substance. But that rabbit hole is interesting for me to go down because it's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of near and dear to my heart, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I put her to sleep.
No, I'm still here. I'm disassociating, but I'm still here.
Sorry, I got the two. We've both been a little sick, and I've still got it pretty bad, so that's another thing.
Yeah, and it's just been a hell of a week.
Yeah.
So
it's been a week.
It's been nice to actually be able to do some content.
Right.
We've been recording a lot. Yesterday we did 3 or 2? 2.
We're going to do 3. We paused on the other one. May or may not do it. Do you want to say what it was, or do you want to just leave it and see?
Let's leave it just in case. Okay. But we have some content coming up. We want to know what you guys want to see. Please let us know if you like our dynamic. Because I'll kick Drew out in a second.
Right, she will, and
faster than no.
I will go too if you guys are like, no, this guy's driving me crazy.
I think our dynamic's really good. I feel comfortable, so that's good. I think the content that we're heading in is really good. We've got some really good ideas. Like I said, I want to try to get merch up and going. We just want to try to do more things for you guys. I'm working my booty off trying to get you guys content out, because I know that when my favorite people take hiatuses, I'm like, come back now, I need you. So I'm just trying to do my best.
And a little backstory on us is we've actually known each other for probably about 15 years now. So yeah. That's why we're comfortable enough doing this stuff together, but also she could easily just be like, go away, and I'd be like, all right, I'm not hurting my feelings. Yeah.
Like, I love your guys' opinions. I do, but I'm gonna do my own thing too. Right. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys like my content, but I do it more for me to be part of a community. So yeah, we're nearing 5 minutes to the hour. So
rock, paper, scissors for the next 5 minutes.
No. I was gonna say, any last words you want to say? Any last plugs?
Well, we already plugged a lot of your stuff.
Social media.
An idea of something that I had for us to do at some point. Tell me if this makes sense for a content thing to anybody. But we had a ours, Miss Mel's Creations. She did the skull for us.
I love this thing so much.
And I thought it'd be kind of cool to figure out some kind of a game to play where we hold the skull, or maybe not even a game, but like I want to interview, talking back and forth, maybe just a segment where we just take the skull and we pass it back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So let me know if any of that sounds cool, and go check her out if you guys think this is cool. Because we've thought before getting a light on this thing will be awesome. Having the light shine up through it, and incorporating it as a unique piece into some of the show would be cool. So maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like Brandon Ferris. He's got the little picture in the background that, what's her name? Who does Kelly? Kelly disappeared.
Kelly.
Yeah. There's a whole story behind Kelly. You guys need to watch Brandon Ferris to get some of our content.
Yeah, I guess so. I also, if you know any polarizing cases, I want to find something where me and Drew disagree.
Which I shouldn't be too hard. I mean, we disagreed already on Rebecca as a how.
A little bit, yeah. We might have to do that one. But
what about sorry, I shouldn't be interrupting you, but I was like, what about the did we disagree on the Cecil Hotel one?
No, I don't think so.
We didn't disagree on that one. Okay.
I don't know. But if you know of anything that's super polarizing, that's because I think it's really good to hear everyone's opinions. And so I want to get a case where it's like we disagree and we just debate. That would be, I think, the greatest content. So if you know anything of that, let me know.
We talked about even doing both sides of making a murder.
Oh yeah.
Where so everybody, the documentary definitely favors one opinion, one side.
Mm-hmm.
And there are supposed to be some shows coming out, and I haven't seen that they officially came out. There's supposed to be some shows coming out that kind of tell the other side of why he was convicted as guilty.
And maybe we just do that. Maybe we pick a case and we just debate
why somebody might have been guilty and innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one's interesting because almost everybody is going to be on the side of Stephen Avery, I feel like. But then you hear the people in Manitowoc and they're just like, he did it. We're sure he did it. And you're like,
yeah.
Why do you all know for sure? Like, what was it? Yeah, was it just how he was in town? Like, was it things he did? It just makes me so curious that the locals are all like, no, the person who did it is in jail.
Right.
So it's really interesting to hear that there's two sides of that playing out, and that maybe he's not as innocent as the documentary paints him out to be, or maybe he is.
Right.
That's why we debate, is then you can kind of decide for yourselves.
Yeah.
Is he really that interested? Maybe I come up with no information as to why he should be
spin-off playlist or spin-off podcast, why we debate.
Right.
And we just debate true crime cases. I would be all in for that. And the only thing is I'm very passionate. And so, like, if you give me something that I don't believe in, I'm going to be like, you're going to be able to see through it.
I thought you were going to say we're going to have to do Sal and Joe. Then no matter what happens, I love you. No matter what happens, I love you.
Right.
They have to do a chant before their debates on food, where they're on their Taste Bud show, where they're like, they have to make sure that nobody leaves with hard feelings because they get really into it. And so we might have to do something similar to that.
Right.
And John Mayer, since you watched Taste Buds and now might be watching this because we're talking about Taste Buds, she loves your music.
I love you.
So yeah, because you're watching, and we know you are.
I'm not even into dudes, and I love John Mayer, so.
There you go.
That needs to be on a t-shirt.
It might be someday.
All right. Well, on that note.
And fade away.
And I'm out. Anyway. Yeah, go subscribe, please, if you're watching this and you like this. That'll at least tell me you guys are liking our content. go watch some shorts because my shorts are doing pretty good, and I
Not
just
her actual like shorts.
yeah, not
like,
go watch shorts.
That's a different form of
That's
content.
okay.
She doesn't have one of those.
Yeah, I don't
but-
have an OnlyFans. Thank you very much. Unless you want it. I too proud to make some money. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. This took a turn.
I mean, this is what happens when it's an hour in and nobody showed up. We're just we're devolving into sleep deprived versions of ourselves.
Pretty much. Subscribe. Go watch the shorts on YouTube.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes. And let me know what you guys want. I appreciate everything that you guys do. Every view, I'm like, people are still interested in just watching my face. It's weird. And now his face, which is even weirder.
Yeah, that's really weird. What are you guys thinking?
No, thank you so much for being here. Any last words? I say that like I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, so that being said, if I'm not on the next test, send somebody, send help, call for help.
Call for help. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Hit that subscribe button.
And the like,
And
and
the
the bell. Bye.
Bye.